This is the story of Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers Part 2 of 4. Now, where we left off, the heroes reunited with Thancred and Minfilia of the First Reflection, then journeyed to Il Mheg. Let's get started. As the heroes enter Il Mheg, Thancred leads the way to the nearby fairy village. No one can see any fairies though until they procure a special plant called the Looking Grass. Now that countless fairies have appeared, they demand to waste the party's time with menial chores before removing the magical fog and helping them find Urianger. After some time, it appears the chores will never end, so the hero summons Faerie, the fairy given to him by the Crystal Exarch. While Faerie is angry with the hero for waiting so long to call, the pixie tells the others to release the illusion so the heroes can be on their way. They proceed to an abandoned manor where Urianger has taken residence and reunite with their old friend.
Full glad am I to see thee once more, my friend, and none the worse for thy travails.
He's also happy to hear that the hero has reunited with the twins as well. Then he explains a bit more as to what's going on. Simply put, the surge of light from the end of the first would amplify the effects of Black Rose on the source, and that's how the 8th calamity will occur if not stopped. He says they must defeat the Light Wardens to save both worlds, and they will need help from the fairies to confront the Light Warden of Il Mheg. For starters, he suggests offering a gift of hawker wings. Then Urianger pulls out a chunk of white orosite. He has obtained some, which he says will be useful once they cross paths with the Ascians. Meanwhile, Thancred tells the others that he cannot manipulate ether on the first, just like he couldn't on the source. Then, as Minfilia is in another room, Thancred begins to tell the hero about an encounter with the original Minfilia from the source. Then the hero is struck with a vision. In this vision, Thancred and Minfilia speak at the edge of Norvant in Amareng, but Minfilia from the source is speaking through the body of Minfilia from the first. Source Minfilia says the Reflection Minfilia may choose to take charge of her own destiny, and if she does, then Source Minfilia will imbue her with her remaining strength so she may wield her powers as her own. But Thancred is angered by this, saying he wishes to see Source Minfilia again, as do many others from back home. Her response is that the decision is Reflection Minfilia's to make and no one else's. Then, she pleads with Thancred to teach and guide her and says goodbye, leaving Reflection Minfilia's body.
What happened?
And then she was gone. Minfilia, the girl, claims to have no recollection of any of it.
After this, the heroes present the gift to the fairies, who are pleased and agree to cooperate. The heroes ask about the Light Warden, and learn that the King of Fairies actually killed the Light Warden, but then became corrupted himself and is now the current Light Warden. He's in a sealed castle, which requires 4 relics to open, and the fairy gives the hero the first relic. The second relic is held by the Fuath, a race of frog people, and they only agree to relinquish it if the hero will enter their domain and face various challenges. The heroes enter Don Mheg and face many challenges, defeating Inkthan, Lord of the Lengthsome Gate, at the end.
But I would have it no other way. Seldom have I enjoyed such sport.
He agrees to give the relic to the heroes, but says in exchange he'll take the Warrior of Darkness as he tries to drown all of them.
You're alive. Thank the gods. I don't know where you learned to breathe underwater, but it's lucky you can.
The heroes find each other on dry land, then one of the fairies says that a group of armed men have entered Il Mheg. The twins agree to check that out while the other heroes press on to gather the remaining relics. The next closest relic is held by the Nu Mou tribe, who Urianger says are very friendly to humans. Sure enough, when the heroes arrive, the Nu Mou are excited to see them, but are afraid to give up the relic because they fear the Light Warden would threaten their home if the castle seal is broken. Urianger manages to persuade them, but the Nu Mou require time to consider and discuss the matter first. Meanwhile, the heroes help a few of them with various chores. On one of these errands, Minfilia offers to help out with the fighting. Afterwards, Minfilia tells the hero how she wasn't trained to fight like the previous Minfilias, but has always been held captive. She also says she realizes Thancred can't stand her because to him, she's not the real Minfilia.
There's nothing I can do for him. Nothing I can offer but my presence. Though it only reminds him of his loss.
But then a deafening roar is heard from the castle.
What is that?
And the hero has a brief vision of the Fairy King taunting him. Returning to the Nu Mou village, the elder thanks the heroes for all their help and says they've decided to give them the third relic. Then he offers a home for them, but Faerie appears, furious because she feels like another tribe is trying to take the hero from her. Moving on, the heroes leave to visit a tribe of talking, flying creatures called the Amuro, as they possess the final relic. The hero speaks to an Amuro named Seto, who mentions he was having a dream about Ardbert, which surprises everyone. But he says their quest is foolish and he refuses to help, so Urianger suggests taking some time to become more familiar with the Amuro. The heroes get to know the Amuro and learn a few things. They learn that they love mankind and they choose to live in this place because it's the ruins of Vobert, a city where knights lived, that cared for these creatures. Returning to Seto, the hero learns that Seto's motive is simply that he cannot bear to see men fight and die anymore. As Seto feels a mysterious connection to the hero though, he tells him he'll help if the hero will prove himself first. Then he says that, long ago, while fighting Sin Eaters, he lost a medallion that's valuable to him in the nearby lake. Since the Amuro cannot swim, the hero searches the bottom of the lake and finds it.
Oh, I know not how to thank you. It is my most treasured possession. A gift from a dear departed soul.
He speaks fondly of this adventurer from the past and says it filled his heart with pride when he was gifted the medallion by him.
His name was Ardbert, and he was my friend. Ardbert was a trusting soul, constantly being drawn into the troubles of others. Yet in spite of this, he never thought twice when he saw someone in need. He always tried to help.
Seto then says he couldn't bear it when mankind blamed Ardbert for the flood, so he left humanity behind and remained in Il Mheg. He also says he can see souls and is amazed at how similar the hero's soul is to Ardbert's. Then he gives the hero the fourth relic. Immediately after, a fairy appears and says there's a mean old man, clearly Ranjit, and he sees through their tricks and games. Urianger says it's critical that the Light Warden be stopped before they are discovered, so the party splits up. The others will do what they can to delay Ranjit while the hero confronts the Light Warden. Minfilia wants to join the hero since she carries the blessing of Hydaelyn too, but Thancred stops her. With the 4 relics in his possession, the hero is granted access to Titania's castle. He enters the Dancing Plague and defeats Titania, king of the fairies, and the Light Warden of Il Mheg.
You have freed our fallen king. Not that I expected any less, my Snayak.
Faerie tells the hero that the 4 relics gathered to break the seal can now serve their true purpose, which is to be bestowed upon the new king. The hero has earned this position, but it would transform him forever, so Faerie receives the honor in his place, becoming the new, uncorrupted king of fairies. Meanwhile, at the fairy village,
How in the 7 hells?
Listen well. We come in pursuit of villains who have fled to this land. You know who and where they are. Now show yourselves and answer me before I lose my patience.
Oh, stop! It hurts!
the Scions come out of hiding, and Ranjit demands Minfilia return to him. She refuses, as the others attack, but then the sky goes dark.
He's done it. The warrior of darkness has triumphed!
Then, as the Fairy King approaches, the Ylmorans retreat. The hero updates the other Scions, and they thank Faerie for becoming king in the hero's stead. The king says Il Mheg owes the hero a debt, as he has returned their night sky. Then Thancred suggests the heroes return to the Crystarium. Standing in the Crystarium, everything seems peaceful. Then a man in a strange coat approaches. He identifies himself as the founder of the Garlean Empire, and also Emmet Selk, the Ascian. Emmet Selk says he's infuriated that the skies have been restored, as the heroes have delayed the rejoining.
Enter man and his indomitable spirit. He would haul the world back from the brink. Had mankind continued to live in idleness under Vorthri's rule, all the conditions would have been met. But you had to come and ruin it all.
Then he turns things around, saying the approach La Habrea took failed, but instead he wants to cooperate with the heroes. Alphinaud has serious doubts, so Emet-Selch says the heroes don't understand the war they fight in, and they might even be able to find common ground.
I take my leave, friends. Rest assured, we shall meet again soon.
The hero returns to his private room and, as usual, is visited by Ardbert. Ardbert asks rhetorically who the Crystal Exarch really is, and why he wasn't around back in his day. Then he recalls how the Ascian in white deceived him and made him believe he needed to bring about the rejoining to survive.
They cannot be trusted. None of them.
The next morning, the hero returns to the Ocular and is surprised to see Emet-Selch standing among the Scions.
Please. Did I not explicitly tell you that we would be meeting again soon?
He swears he's only there to observe, and says he's impressed by the Crystal Exarch since he was able to summon the Scions across the rift. Again, he says they could work together as allies, then goes back to watching from the shadows. The Crystal Exarch steps forward and praises the hero's accomplishments, but Thancred says 3 Light Wardens still remain. They decide to split into 3 groups, with the hero asked to journey to Rak'tika Greatwood and rendezvous with Y'shtola. First, he suggests the hero go to Fort Job and search for a tablet that Y'shtola would find useful. The Crystal Exarch received an invitation to meet Lord Vothri, so he plans to travel to Yulmore with Alphinaud. When Urianger and the hero arrive in Fort Job, Urianger says the tablet they seek is at the Church of First Light. The religion of light quickly dissipated when the world began to be consumed by light. The subsequent worshippers of shadow, called the Knights Blessed, migrated to Rak'tika Greatwood. The hero finds the tablet, and Urianger remarks that it's written in the language of Ronka, a city which once stood in what is now Rak'tika. Before leaving for Rak'tika, Urianger tells the hero that Y'shtola goes by the name Matoya, her mentor, as is custom among the Knights Blessed. As the heroes enter Rak'tika Greatwood, Emet-Selch makes another appearance. This time, Minfilia asks him to help fight, but he says he's merely here to observe. Further down the road, the heroes visit a blessed encampment that was destroyed by Sin Eaters in recent history. Suddenly, they are surrounded by archers led by Y'shtola, aka Master Matoya, who believe them to be Sin Eaters. Y'shtola is still blind and only sees ether. Since the hero has been absorbing corrupted light from the Light Wardens, Y'shtola is confused.
Master Matoya, hath time truly made strangers of us?
Urianger and the hero clear things up, and the archers lower their weapons. Then Y'shtola leads them to Slitherbow, home of the Knights Blessed.
It is a curious kind of faith, but one which has granted them the strength to persevere in the wake of the flood.
They move to a room, and the Scions update Y'shtola on all that has transpired. Then she gives her updates, saying that she stopped relying on the Crystal Exarch for guidance because she couldn't stand all the secrecy. She has spent the years since studying this forest and the ancient empire of Ronka. She says there's a ruin to the east called Ixmaya that no one can approach because it's fiercely guarded by warriors who shoot without warning.
Mayhap the warden hideth there, full knowing none may approach it for fear of these protectors.
Y'shtola eyes the tablet gifted from the Exarch and says, though he may be trying to get on her good side, the tablet might offer a clue on how to enter Ixmaya, so she's eager to study it. Thancred compliments how well Y'shtola has adapted to the source, but she criticizes him in response, pointing out that he's not handling Minfilia well. He gets offended and leaves.
He understands that I'm not the same, that I'm not her.
Understands, perhaps, but does not accept. The question being whether he ever will. And whether you will, more importantly. As difficult as your circumstances may be, they are yours, not his. 'Tis you and you alone who bears ultimate responsibility for your life.
While Y'shtola works to decipher the tablet, the hero meets Runar from the Knights Blessed. He speaks highly of Y'shtola, then he takes the hero and Minfilia to another room. There he conducts a ritual said to remove light's impurity. Then they make conversation with other residents of Slitherbow and help out with basic chores. After this, a messenger arrives saying that Sin Eaters were spotted in the forest nearby. Also, a Knights Blessed girl was slain recently and her body was already retrieved, but her necklace is still out there. Runar doesn't want to risk anyone, but Minfilia insists on helping to retrieve the necklace so they will have it in time for the funeral, and the hero joins her. Shortly after they return, the funeral begins.
May her soul find peace in the sunless sea of heaven, and in the love we bear for her in our hearts.
After the funeral, Y'shtola says she has deciphered the tablet and calls for a meeting with the Scions. She says the tablet dates back to the end of the Ronkan Empire, a time when they were besieged by war. It's a petition for aid from allies. Urianger says it also contains a description of how to prove oneself an ally of the Ronkan Empire, but they need another Ronkan text in order to translate it. Y'shtola knows of one that's currently under the possession of a radical group called the Children of Everlasting Dark. Thancred, the hero, and Y'shtola leave together to retrieve this text. Along the way, the heroes speak with a blessed watchman who says the Children of Everlasting Dark appear to be breeding venomous spiders. Y'shtola doesn't know what they're up to, but says they could release bees into the nests where spiders are bred. This would distract the children and give the heroes a chance to sneak in. The hero uses smoke bombs on beehives to capture some bees, then Thancred releases them in the spider nest. This allows Y'shtola and the hero to sneak in and inspect their texts and ancient murals.
These paintings, they seem familiar. Depictions of heroes throughout history. The Age of Gods, the Empire of Ronka, and this.
Ardbert recalls that he knew a man that studied these murals obsessively and that they date back to ancient times before Ronka, but then he added a new mural of Ardbert and the Warriors of Darkness.
Rather faded, isn't it, compared to the others? Did someone try to scrape it off the wall? Well, maybe the man himself once he came to his senses.
Conversation ends suddenly when Y'shtola says it's time to leave. The heroes return to Slitherbow and sit by the fire while Runar prepares a meal. Moments later, when the meal is ready, the hero walks to Y'shtola's chambers to retrieve her, but he overhears an argument. Y'shtola is upset with Urianger because she says the hero is filled with an extraordinary amount of corrupted ether and it is very dangerous, but Urianger doesn't see the need to say or do anything about it. Meanwhile, in Yulmore, the Exarch meets with Lord Vothri. Vothri asks why the Crystarium is complicit in the destruction of Sin Eaters and Light Wardens. In response, the Exarch says the people have hoped for this and asks Vothri why he doesn't aid them.
Why? Because this hope you cling to is nothing more than a fever dream, an exercise in futility.
Vothri says he offers sanctuary and peace, and men would kill each other without his guiding hand.
You have always held sway over those around you. Those who defy you must submit or die. What sits before me is the inevitable result of bloated privilege and unchecked power.
The Exarch says he believes in mankind and they will overcome this calamity together. Vothri gets angry and says he's already dispatched forces against them, then he attacks the Exarch, but it turns out just to be his projection. Back at Slitherbow, Ranjit and the Yulmoran forces stand outside and Y'shtola approaches.
By Lord Vothri's decree, Raktika now falls under the governance of Yulmore. You will henceforth answer to us.
They've allied with the Children of Everlasting Dark and poisoned the Blessed Guard. Ranjit gives an ultimatum, that they join them at a place called Woven Oath or be dealt with as traitors to Yulmore. And part 2 ends there. If you want to see what happens next, check out the story video for Shadowbringers Part 3. See you next time.